Good morning. I love these conventions. What happened to the cheap Vegas? Good question. Do you remember days you come to Vegas, roast beef, $2.99, shrimp cocktail, buck? I got a glass of orange juice this morning, $7. It wasn't even in a souvenir glass. If you're staying at the hotel, you're probably staying in, I imagine the Palace Towers, very beautiful rooms, and they made a nice rate for us. But I've learned that as you go through life and the changes that come about as we try to improve our environment, one of the issues I guess I'm dealing with in my room is I keep waking up in the middle of the night hot. And I cannot figure it out. It turns out the air conditioning keeps turning off. You know, when you leave your room, your air conditioning turns off. Well, I don't know if you realize that when you sleep at night, your air conditioning is turning off too because you're not moving. So I find myself at 1 o'clock in the morning raising my hands. So the electric guy kicks on the air. Last night I was throwing a pillow up in the air. What happened to the old Vegas? I want my cheap rooms back. And a $1.99 buffet. I ate breakfast this morning, $54. I didn't even get to keep the chicken. I thought I bought a round of drinks. It was amazing. Well, welcome to the convention. If you're here, I say really welcome and congratulations. You made it through a recession, which is unprecedented. You got one more good year ahead of you of crap. Just so you know that, I don't want to pump you up too much. We don't look for any type of improvement until somewhere late into 2011, which means you better become better mathematicians and better dealers even than you were this past year. It's a shame some of your colleagues are not here, but they just got stubborn. Some of them just refuse to manage their inventories and watch their assets. And I got to tell you, you're going to have to become better, sharper, more enthusiastic, and more dedicated business people to watching those assets and managing the assets of the business. The old days of somebody buying cars, getting lucky, and selling them after a couple hundred days in stock, those days have long been over. We've been trying to tell you that for quite some time. This was no secret. We knew this economy was coming. If you didn't see it coming, you just had your head in the sand. And as far as any kind of recovery, we don't see recovery for at least another year yet, most certainly. Especially when we look at what's happening to the euro, how that's impacted us. The Chinese market, I mean, can you imagine in China the word strike existing? The Chinese are going on strike and they're getting better wages. So you're going to find a whole shift like you've never seen before in a global economy, and that most definitely is going to have an impact on you. You know, when we talked about, BRIC, Brazil, Russia, India, and China, I think you're going to find the acronym BRIC changing and China actually coming first before Brazil even. And how's it going to impact you? Well, it's going to impact you a lot, and that's why today's session is going to be even more important than it has been in years past in terms of managing those assets. You're into a global economy like you've never seen. Just totally unprecedented. At any rate, I want to remind you all that, as far as inventory and why we keep talking about this thing, because inventory management is critical to profitability. If you're going to increase profitability, net profitability, now we brainwash ourselves on gross, we've got to gear ourselves more towards net as opposed to gross. Gross is good, net's better. Gross is what you get, profits, of course, what you kept afterwards. When you take a look at how will I survive this upcoming year and into next year, as inventory prices keep rising, my cost of inventory rises, my cost of business rises. Every time we get abominated, some new rule comes out, and that I keep telling someone, yes, we are certainly an abomination. That impacts what's happening to us on our bottom line with new legislation, as Keith Wan took time to tell you yesterday and today. But I got to tell you, this inventory management deal is going to impact cash flow like it never has before. We thought we'd create a panel this year that also incorporated the auctions because I think it's very important to understand some of the tools and how to better use the tools that are available to you. We like buying. Everyone likes to raise their hand, but now you got to get rid of this stuff. And how fast do you have to get rid of it in order to make a profit is going to be very, very essential to you. So this inventory management thing involves not just more profitability, but overall sales in general, market penetration. If you're trying to find out how others survive when others die, it's going to be controlling the inventory. It's a major, major expense to your business, as you know. Floor planning has been difficult to acquire. Well, if you control the inventory, then you don't need as much floor planning as we did in years past. Ironically, yes, it's tighter. There is no doubt. but can you control the inventory so you don't need to run to a bank and get more floor plan assistance? The answer is yes. Yesterday you heard a dealer, and I was interesting, I was sitting in the back of the room and I listened to some dealers gasp as one of your colleagues said that he sold 40 cars a month out of an inventory of 45. And someone thought, well, several thought, well, that must be outrageous. And I felt kind of badly because it made me not want to tell you of a dealer I have right now as a client who sells 60 cars a month out of 32. And it's there, it's possible. It's just a matter of having the right inventory. So that's what we're going to talk about today is having the right inventory, not just a lot of inventory. And the math does work. You know, gross profits, when you go to these 20 group meetings, and for dealers like to brag on gross profits, gross is a bragging right, but profitability, I think, gives you the sustainability right. And that's what we want to focus on, is not gross profits, but rather keeping you in business, at least another year to fight another battle and another war. So focus on profitability is very, very important. We'll deal with some issues today, one of which is your employees and how they feel about your inventory. Employees go crazy every time we change inventory or come back from these sessions and want to make changes. Your employees just raise their hands and throw their hands in the air going, dear God, they're back from another convention. What's it this year? And then they wait until they get tired of it, the novelty wears off, and you're back to square one as you've always been. So we want to try to give you some real impetus in making some effective changes this year. On the panel, I'm going to let the panelists introduce themselves. They know themselves better than I. But we'll just kind of go down the line. We have two dealers who are CMD dealers. They have some interesting stories for you. But we also, again, want to stress that the auctions that are here are not here to sell you anything. They're here to sell you ideas, but not another product. We just want to let you know that there's lots of stuff out there. We just happen to pick two great companies to share some thoughts and ideas on how to become more profitable this year. So I'd like to kick off, first off, with Michael Darrow. I'll pick you right there at the beginning. You're in the right seat. And tell us about the company, yourself, and what's happened to you this past year, if you would.
I'm out of Durham, North Carolina, and we've been a dealer for 15 years. In 2008, 2009, as everybody experienced, we used to stock about 70, 75, 80 cars, and we were selling about 50 to 55 cars. Currently, we've gotten our inventory down. We're usually sitting on around 38 to 42 cars, and we're selling anywhere from 25 to 30 a month. Have a staff of about 7 people. That's down from about 14 people. And just really trying to find ways to keep that cash flow moving and keeping that inventory just on time, as close as we can to what we need in order to what we sell.
Now your sales dropped.
Correct.
Did they drop because of inventory? Or they drop in proportion to the market?
Proportion of the market, but also when we had 70, 80 cars, we were lazy, and cars would sit out there and age 120, 130, 140 days, and we always look at it like, hey, there's a butt for that seat somewhere, and eventually we're going to sell it. And thinking that we were making money where it sat for 120 days, and we made a $1,800 gross, and we thought that, hey, that's awesome, we made $1,800 on that car. But going back and doing the math, it turns out, we actually lost money because of the time that it sat on our lot, the amount of recon we were doing, the amount of advertising we were doing, the amount of floor planning we were doing, and then a commission on top of that. We should have taken it to the sale, 90 days ago and gotten out of it and gotten into something that we could have sold quicker.
Laurie Kann?
I'm Laurie Kann. I live in Lovington, New Mexico. We've been in business, my husband and I, for 13 years. We also had a similar store as Michael. We had stocked 70 to 75 vehicles, selling 45 to 50 typically. Over the last year and a half, we have adjusted our inventory. We now sell probably 35 to 40 on an average. We keep 45 to 55 depending on which months they are of the year. We also found that we were keeping overaged inventory. We were keeping it 120, sometimes up to 180 days. Same scenario, thought we could sell it. Somebody will come in. Now we house, typically we have, like right now, we have 45 units on our floor. For the month, we have, I think, 25 units out already. We're having a good month. But what we found was having the floor plan expense is what pretty much was the death of us in our inventory control. We had floor plan companies that will allow us to 45 days, curtail it, 45 days, curtail it. You could keep it on there up to 120 days. The philosophy at that time was, well, I'll sell it, you know, I don't have to use my cash flow. We'll just keep it on there and eventually sell. Here again, we lost money when we finally did sell it. We've now adopted in our dealership, after 60 days, we sell it. Whether it be we wholesale it, we take it back to the auction, whatever we do, we get rid of it, and we are making money, not losing money.
What's been the reaction of your employees with the change?
Well, our sales, I have a sales manager and another guy that does sales. At first, they were upset, being that we're taking away inventory. Now, he doesn't have 70, 75 cars to try to put somebody into. We're taking away the inventory that they make their livelihood on. Not understanding at first that what's happening is that the customers coming in are saying, well, there must be a problem with this vehicle. You've had it for 120 days. You know, it hasn't sold. There's a reason why it hadn't sold. Well, there may be a reason why it hadn't sold, but part of that was the lack of inventory control we were doing as the dealership. So at first they were upset, thinking that they were losing money, and in fact, now that we've adopted our new rotation of when to get rid of our inventory, how much to keep, they actually are selling more and making more money because the grosses are up, the net profit is up because we don't have the floor plan expense, advertising expense.
When you say your gross profit actually went up.
Gross profit actually did go up.
Michael, did you see the same thing? Or no?
Yeah, absolutely. They're fresher cars, and the sales force is more excited about them because they're staying fresh, and you know, they don't look at the car like, well, that's that old dog that's been there for 120 days, and they start cutting the price right out on the lot. You know, when the car is fresh, they're more apt to hold gross out on the lot before the customer even gets in.
So the market drove sales down, but gross did go up.
Absolutely.
So your employees actually made more money.
Absolutely.